So good afternoon and welcome to everybody. On behalf of Francesco Pignatelli, ELISE Action Leader and Senior Program Manager, on behalf of Lorena Hernandez, Project Officer, and on behalf of myself, Simon Vrečar, External Consultant. All of us working for Joint Research Center of European Commission. So today we'll be hosting this webinar with the title Geodata Marketplaces Supporting Location Intelligence. So maybe first a few words about ELISE for those who don't know about it. So ELISE is an action in part of the ISA² program. The acronym stands for European Location Interoperability Solution for e-Government, and it's aiming to providing cross-border and cross-sector interoperability solutions for public administrations, business and citizens. So there are 54 different actions running in this ISA² program that are tackling interoperability from different angles, while ELISE is the only one actually of them that is tackling the location dimension. Within the context of ELISE knowledge transfer activities, we are organizing periodically webinars like those one today, which is seen on the next slide, and whose aim is actually to engage in an agile way with the topics of relevance to the digital transformation, and also to share the results of ELISE action activities. As it's seen on the next slide, so our speakers today, we have George O'Neill and Leia Itrus, both from Deloitte, who will guide us through the topic of geodata marketplaces, supporting location intelligence. To make the webinar even more exciting, there are also 3 guest speakers presenting their practical experiences. Javier Perez Trufero from Carto, Jill Saligoe-Simmel from Esri, and Valdis Kabulis from Geodatahub. So thank you also to the guest speakers for joining today. And they all will try to provide us the insights on definitions, background and context for geodata marketplaces, providing us a brief timeline of developments, explaining how we arrived to today's solutions, and showcasing the examples of geodata marketplaces by Esri, Geodatahub, and Carto. I believe they all would give us a really solid base for fruitful discussion, which is also foreseen for the end of this webinar. So before giving a virtual floor to the first speaker, I would ask you to take a part in a short poll, answering actually 2 questions. I suppose you can see the poll already on your screens. So first question is about your affiliation. So where are you coming from? Is it public administration and European level, national public administration, regional? Are you from private sector, consultant, NGO, and so on? The second question is about how are you familiar with the concepts of the geodata marketplace or data marketplaces in general? So here is also some useful input for our speakers later on. So whether are you familiar or not familiar with either concepts? Are you familiar with the concept of data marketplaces only? Are you familiar with both concepts, or you know both concepts very well? So let's give us another 20 seconds for your answers. So, okay, at this moment, I think we should end the polling and share the results. So regarding the first question, so it's obvious that the vast majority of you is coming from national public administration or regional public administration. There are also many from private sectors, SME. Regarding the question about the familiarity of the concepts of geodata marketplaces or data marketplaces, it's obvious that you are quite familiar with both of the concepts. Okay, there are also some of you that are not familiar with this concept, but I hope that our speakers today will clarify all the dots. So at this point, I would give the floor to the George O'Neill from Deloitte to start with the first part of the presentation. Please, George.
Thanks very much. Okay, so yes, the topic of this webinar, because of the kind of ever-growing use of different forms of geospatial data to support location intelligence, different types of public and private services on top of that, we wanted to look in this webinar at how geodata marketplaces and ecosystems can support this. And so in the next couple of slides, I'm just going to first just start with some key definitions, which some of you have already indicated that you're familiar with, and a bit of context, so that we can then go on to some nice practical examples, which we have from our guest speakers later in the presentation. So just to start with the concept of a data marketplace. So here, as you can see from the definition of on your screen, we're looking at platforms where users are buying or selling different types of data sets and data streams from many different sources. And normally we're looking at cloud services where this data is being uploaded to the cloud. And the platforms are enabling a self-service data access, ensuring security, consistency, and high quality of data. And in our context, we might want to emphasize here that we could, we said in that definition, buying or selling, but we could look at multiple different ways in which this data is exchanged under different terms and conditions, which may be more relevant to the public sector as well. On the next slide, we have the closely linked concepts of the data ecosystem, which we see as being a key concept, ever growing in importance. And this really refers to the different stakeholders that surround this marketplace or other platform, and the different actors that interact on this type of platform or in the particular environment in order to exchange data and thereby create value. Onto the next slide, please. So looking now at the geodata marketplaces, well, this concept and practice clearly being the subset of data marketplaces, which refer or focus particularly on geospatial data and information. The development of these types of geodata marketplace has been a consequence of development over the past few decades. And we're seeing now the kind of new business models and public platforms appearing and building richer ecosystems and further facilitating widespread accessibility of geospatial data. And with these geodata marketplaces, again, we have different data providers, different data users able to meet in the one virtual space and able to exchange information and, crucially or importantly, also obtain new insights. And in terms of how these contemporary platforms, they're still on the previous slide, sorry. In terms of how these contemporary platforms differ from previous iterations, because this has been a development, we might emphasize on one, the central role of data. So as well as before, perhaps an ecosystem or a marketplace might be more focused around a particular application or software, we now see data being the real crucial thing that's drawing the marketplace together and is the key commodity that is traded, and around which maybe other services are developed. And also increased ecosystems thinking, the concept of the data ecosystem that I mentioned before. So where we're moving beyond a unilateral relationship of provision of data from one provider to a user, to focus on providing that space where data providers and data users can exchange of multiple different types and subcategories, vendors, revendors, intermediaries, and other categories you could think of. Next slide, please. So as said, this, I mean, there are changes from what we've seen before, but at the same time, this is a continuation of trends that stretch back to the 90s with the first generation of virtual marketplaces and the spatial data infrastructures that existed to provide these geospatial data. And continues through the 2000s into the contemporary day, where we see this more ecosystem focus. And as the overall results of this are kind of a new paradigm where we have an unprecedented level of data availability and accessibility thanks to these and linked to these new markets, and whereby we see this formerly expensive asset of geospatial data becoming more affordable. We see greater accessibility both in terms of the usability of these platforms and in the economic sense, and we see just as well as accessibility for different types of users in terms of the end users or developers who may want APIs instead, and a greater heterogeneity of data sources and a variety of different pricing models. So that's the kind of the background a little bit on these geodata marketplaces. I will hand over now quickly to Leah, who's going to describe a little bit about how this applies to location intelligence.
Okay, thank you very much, George. So now that we have really explored this kind of key context and developments related to the concept of geodata marketplaces, it's time to look into what are the opportunities that these developments really represent. So in this contemporary phase that George just outlined, there's certainly some opportunities, some benefits to where we are today and to the use of geodata marketplaces that apply to both the public and private sphere. We can start with the public sector, and some of the key opportunities there is certainly, first of all, this opportunity to enable collaboration with other organizations and in that way, public-private partnerships as well. So geodata marketplaces, of course, it means by definition that collaboration is really enhanced through this sort of virtual marketplace. So it's a type of interactive self-service form of sharing data, which opens an opportunity for more actors really to participate in an ecosystem, seeing that there's no longer this unidirectional business relationship that George was also explaining. We'll see some examples of this by our guest speakers later on. Second of all, there's also this element of focus on efficiency and delivering cost savings through governmental geospatial one-stop shops, we could call it. So indeed, virtual marketplaces have intrinsically already changed the way that we exchange goods and services, taking it all the way back to the 1990s and eBay and such types of platforms. And a geospatial one-stop shop should not be mistaken in that sense for applying to only the private sector, as there are indeed many examples of public sector actors providing or working to provide platforms where data can be exchanged. Thirdly, there's also the element of improving service quality and effectiveness through better access to information. So in essence, this just means that by simplifying the findability and accessibility of data, all stakeholders involved will achieve better access to information. And then on the more private sector side of it, and many of these points, by the way, do also apply to the public sphere and vice versa. But first of all, there's this element of building ecosystems around these platforms, allowing for better access to data. Now, accessibility, of course, is a challenge for any actor, global actors or smaller, but we can, for example, imagine that for SMEs, this type of ecosystems thinking is something that can be capitalized on. You can involve more actors. It becomes easier to overcome traditional obstacles of obtaining data. And I also think the following sections of the presentation will give some good examples of this. Secondly, naturally, we have the increased efficiency and cost savings again. And this brought by this opportunity to create new and innovative products, tools, and even business models. And then lastly, and this also applies to the public sphere, is the opportunity to engage the public through volunteered information. So again, enhancing like a sustainable ecosystem means that you can gain access to new sources of data. So it could be, for example, third-party volunteered information. So just to add on to this, which direction are we going in? And so here it's relevant to bring in a definition of location intelligence. So what is location intelligence? In the ELISE glossary and based on Gartner research, we define it as the process of deriving meaningful insights from geospatial data relationships, people, places, or things to solve particular challenges such as demographic or environmental analysis, asset tracking, and traffic planning. So for this webinar, we're interpreting location intelligence as a broader concept. So it encompasses processes naturally, and we're seeing developments in processes in the field. We have new technologies evolving around GIS, but also artificial intelligence and other developments. And this allows us to turn our inputs, and these inputs can be from a vast variety of information sources, so traditional geospatial sources and more innovative sources or newer sources, we could say, into outputs that will then necessarily be more location intelligent, if we could put it in that way. So using a broad definition of location intelligence as discussed in the previous slide, it's also important to look beyond a business intelligence aspect and consider not only the technology, but also the inputs and outputs allowing to transform geospatial data into knowledge. So therefore, we define location intelligence as being more than analysis of geospatial information or geographic information systems alone. It's really also the capability to visualize spatial data, to identify and analyze new relationships. So a 2013 publication from Deloitte discusses the power of location intelligence, or zooming in, and it defines 3 key steps which should apply to all data intelligence initiatives. So first of all, you have this idea of collecting, right? So collecting the location-based data that's already available and integrate this data into decision-making. And then second of all, we have connecting, which is, of course, very closely linked to data ecosystems again. So it's important to connect with partners and data sources that could support whatever mission priorities you may have. And then lastly, and importantly, of course, there's the element of protect. So by understanding privacy and data protection issues related to location-based data, you can also then focus on delivering value in exchange for sharing location information. So now that we've brought many different concepts to the table, it's time to kind of ask the question of, okay, so ecosystems and location intelligence, how do they support one another, and how does it relate to geodata marketplaces? So indeed, first of all, ecosystems centered around really this concept of sharing, exchanging, using, and reusing data are key to provide an environment for the creation, managing, and sustaining of initiatives. As we've seen, location intelligence is really derived from these new processes that allow a vast array of inputs to be turned into location intelligent outputs. We also see that by collecting, connecting, and protecting data through sustainable ecosystems, so we can derive new and deeper geospatial insight. What we see then is, as a result, both private and public actors are really picking up on this. There's new and innovative tools, platforms, business models that are growing as a result. So really, by bringing together all these concepts, the key kind of punchline here is that geodata marketplaces really encapsulate this ecosystems thinking, and it serves as an enabler for increased location intelligence. So on that note, I think it's time to give the floor to Jill, who is our first guest speaker, to give us some concrete examples of what it is we're talking about today. So please, Jill.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Leah. So I'd like to go ahead and introduce Esri's ArcGIS Living Atlas to the world as an example of one of these new types of geodata marketplaces. The Living Atlas is a curated collection of over 8,000 authoritative maps and data, imagery, and tools that are contributed from our users worldwide, as well as content that's published by Esri and our partners. It includes feature layers and 3D scenes, imagery, live sensor data, and more. The content is typically worldwide or by major region, and much of the content that's found in the Living Atlas is publicly available without restrictions, while a subset is either subscriber content with layers such as Landsat imagery, landscape analysis layers, and historical maps, or we also have premium content, which includes layers such as demographic and lifestyle layers. Okay. The Living Atlas is really enabled by geospatial infrastructure, and this is the important point that I want to make. It's the big idea, and it's what makes the Living Atlas and other marketplaces like this possible. Geospatial infrastructure encompasses the distributed cloud storage and computational infrastructure, the web software and applications and microservices. It brings together the people and the content providers, creators, the platform providers, as well as those stakeholders and consumers all together. And really, in a way, it governs the layer and feature level access and security of this very expansive content. So geospatial infrastructure is how users can authenticate and share their data in open and secure data spaces, kind of like a social network for data. Our Esri Living Atlas of the world is a manifestation of this new type of marketplace. Okay. So the Living Atlas is deeply integrated and integral to ArcGIS software, and its content sits right alongside users' own content, as well as access to tens and thousands of publicly shared items that are uncurated, that are available through ArcGIS users worldwide. It's also used in field apps and business apps and many more ways. And it's this deep integration that enables an ease of use for the community to participate in the Living Atlas. For example, with the Community Maps program. It's the deep integration that makes it easy for the community to share feedback and get information from others. So I'm going to start by just showing you, we have the Community Maps program and ArcGIS base maps. This is where the Community Map program work with authoritative data contributions with continuously improving the ArcGIS base maps. There's 3 paths for our users to have contributions into the ArcGIS base maps and through the Community Maps program. They can provide feedback through a exchange of information and drawing on the Esri base maps to provide that feedback. They can create detailed features. This is quite popular with organizations that want to provide like campus level feature information. And authoritative data providers can share data layers and services by nominating items to the Living Atlas. The contributors work with curators at Esri before the maps are shared with the Living Atlas, and the contributed data are added to Esri base maps, which are fully customizable with our vector base map editor. So let's take a quick look at how geospatial infrastructure enables a new type of systems thinking approach to continuous data improvements. One of the things I'm personally excited about with this, because I've always been an active OpenStreetMap editor, is our new OpenStreetMaps contributions and programs. So you're probably all aware that OpenStreetMap is a free editable map of the world built by a community of mappers that contribute and maintain data about roads, trails, bridges, and more. The Living Atlas provides access to OpenStreetMap data in many ways, including the Esri-hosted OpenStreetMap vector base maps and live feature layers, which enable you to display, query, and even analyze the data. The Living Atlas now provides new ways for authoritative data providers to share their authoritative data with the OpenStreetMap community mappers to improve the OSM data and continuously update it to reflect authoritative data into OpenStreetMap, and then make that return journey back into the Living Atlas. Earlier this year, in partnership with Facebook, OpenStreetMap Daylight was released. OpenStreetMap Daylight enhances the OpenStreetMap with additional data validation and detection using AI and machine learning to remove map vandalism and geometry errors in the OpenStreetMap data. The OpenStreetMap Daylight map is now in beta release and hosted by Esri, providing the latest version of the OpenStreetMap Daylight distribution. So it's in this way that authoritative data from the source data providers contribute to this virtuous circle of continuous improvements of community maintained OSM data, making that round trip from authoritative provider into Esri base maps, into OpenStreetMaps, and back, providing that data back as vector data layers that's available to the authoritative providers and users in ArcGIS. Another very popular set of content that's provided through the Living Atlas is live data layers. These live feeds are useful in data sets related to weather, hazards, air quality, and other types of events like fires. These live feed data layers are provided by source providers such as NOAA, USGS, NASA, and others. And finally, with this quick tour, I'd just like to conclude with another example of ecosystem thinking. The geospatial infrastructure is enabling a new type. Yeah, we can go on. Thank you. A new type of ability to bring together data from disparate sources and contributors around the world. And these data can be brought together now in new ways to create new insights for location intelligence. We've demonstrated this through the Living Atlas, the indicators of the planet, where we have continuously updated data from these multiple sources worldwide being brought together to show key metrics on topics that affect us all, such as air quality, drought worldwide, sea ice change, and more. This wouldn't be possible without being able to bring together the data that's dynamically updated based on services in this new type of geospatial infrastructure. So we can see that one of the most significant roles of marketplaces, such as the Living Atlas, is really in delivering immediate value to users through entire data spaces and across the users in the world. And with that, I'd like to turn it back to you, Leah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jill, for that interesting presentation of the Living Atlas. I think on that note, we can hand it over to, or actually move to the next section, apologies. So we're now going to be looking at some more geodata marketplaces demonstrated. So here we have Geodatahub and Carto present. So we will start with the presentation by Valdis from Geodatahub. So please, Valdis, the floor is yours.
Greetings for everyone. Thanks, Jill. Thanks, Leah. My name is Valdis Kabulis, and I'm a GIS project manager in one of the lead cartography and geospatial sector company in Baltic region, ArcGIS. Today, I will present you about one of the geospatial data dissemination tool for Baltic region, Geodatahub platform. Geodatahub was created in cooperation to two Baltics GIS companies, one company which I represent, ArcGIS, and our project partner company, Re2 from Estonia. The project was founded by European Union cross-border cooperation program. My today's stories is not that more about adding geographical context to business data, but more about adding value for businesses based to geographical data. The main goal of Geodatahub is to provide in Baltic operating businesses, business companies, and government sector institutions with the up-to-date geospatial data services in simple, accessible way. It means through the self-service portal. Please, next slide. How it works? We collecting together all valuable geospatial data about the Baltic territory and transform it from initial raw data format into a convenient and modern way for software implementators. In the results, we transform this data to REST IPA service formats. The best and the most up-to-date geospatial IPAs about Baltic region, which helps the client to make better decisions for its own business and improves their products, mostly based to receive detailed location intelligent insights. The portal provides support for fundamental geospatial related business needs, so that businesses no longer need to take care of initial geospatial data sourcing challenges and hosting itself themselves. And it's a new generation approach to the supply of geographic data services that has not been present in the Baltic market from local spatial data vendor until now. Please, next slide. And please, next. And our data plays an input role in the concept of location intelligence by using our data as an input information in a specific location intelligent technological processes and softwares. The business has obtained valuable output results. These results give them new insights into the future operational and of course strategic direction of the business. These outputs and logical decisions are classified as of course this location intelligent. Currently, we Geodatahub spatial input data have been grouped in three main groups: so location, maps, and direction. Under location group has please, next slide. And under the location group has services access, which related to address and point of interest data information. These geodata services need for many institutions in their everyday work, such as emergency aid institution, waste management, delivery services, etc. At this moment, mostly of our clients using it for, of course, for simply address validation, but but many of them also use it for their location intelligence softwares as the input geodata for complicated analysis, which in the end of the day give them the important answers on how to provide their service better and more cost effectively. Please, next slide. Under the maps group has services access which related to base map information. It provides for our customer solutions a precise and detailed base maps. For example, forestry is one of the most important industry here in Latvia, and our maps are very accurately published and classify local forest roads, this really narrow roads, which these forestry companies use in their internal and external technological analytic processes, and that component add also this location intelligence information for them, and add this monetary value. Please, next slide. Under the location group has service access which related to vehicle routing information with the kind of restriction imposed by COVID-19. Any kind of issues related to the logistic and delivery of goods have become even more important. Therefore, it's important for service providers which work in this business directions. So to receive the most actual routing services for usage in their specific softwares that give them valuable operational information and also this location intelligence. Geodata provides routing and optimization IPAs, which helps our clients optimal deliver a product and service to their customers. Yeah, please, next slide. All the services are provided to integrators in a modern self-service portal. For the Geodatahub, customers doesn't have to take a lot of bureaucratic steps to try out or start subscribing to this IPAs. Yeah, thank you. Thanks you for your attention, and feel free to try Geodatahub, and welcome on board. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Valdis. I think without any further ado, I will hand it over to Javier, who's here with us from Carto. So please.
Yes. Well, first, hello, everybody. And well, thank you for inviting us to participate in this webinar. My name is Javier Perez Trufero, and I'm the head of data at Carto. For those of you who may not be that familiar with what we do, we have built a location intelligence platform, so a technology platform that allows data scientists, data analysts, and developers to solve geospatial problems with access to location data and then analytical and visualization capabilities. Today, I will focus obviously on the data observatory, that is this component of our stack that is a marketplace granting access to external data to our users. Next. So in Carto, depending of the type of user, you have different interfaces, different methods, and different components that you can use to leverage our technology. So if you are a data scientist, you would probably use Carto Frames, that is our Python package that allows you to exploit all the technological capabilities of Carto from the Python Jupyter Notebook environment. If you are a data analyst, you probably want to use Carto Builder. That is our own approach to the BI world, so allowing analysts to run more basic geospatial analytics and build interactive dashboards with a drag and drop web interface. And then for developers, we provide access, so direct access to all of our APIs and libraries for them to build custom applications. So Powering all that, we have the data observatory that has methods connected to these different interfaces that allows our users to augment and enrich their own data with a collection of more than 8,000 public and premium location datasets from multiple categories. Some of the ones that you see here, like road traffic, financial, human mobility, demographics, and so on. I will comment more a bit later. So next. And why are we doing this? So, I mean, we've seen, working extensively with ourselves and also with our customers over the last years, that in any data project, there's a lot of time that is spent in things like looking what data is available out there and that is relevant for the analysis or for the project that you are trying to solve. Then when you've detected this, then you have to go and contact the different providers that offer this type of data and then negotiate the terms for acquiring the different licenses to use the data under the different conditions. Once you have access to the data, if you're purchasing data from multiple providers, you most likely are going to receive the data in many multiple different data sharing, data exchange systems, ranging from proprietary file sharing systems to Amazon Web Services, Esri buckets, or technologies similar to that. And then when you do this, then you still have to ETL the data into the analysis platform that you want to use. And this process is very expensive in both time and the resources that you have to allocate to go through all these steps. And we feel that this is pushing people away to actually building data-centric organization. So this is what we're trying to solve. So we want our users to focus all of their time, or most of their time, doing analysis with the data rather than all those data admin tasks. So for this reason, is why we build the Data Observatory. So the Data Observatory offers simple access integrated with the components of our technology to a vast array of public and premium data from sources that we have vetted, so sources that we have evaluated, we have assessed, and then that we have onboarded in our platform. For the premium side of these different datasets, we have closed reseller and collaboration partnerships with the different data providers offering this data, meaning that we can accelerate and speed up a lot the licensing process. And then, as I said, so the data has been standardized. So all these different types of data, we have put them in standard formats and integrated into the platform. So as soon as so the public data is self-service, but then the premium data, as soon as the subscription has been acquired, the data is already ETL, so it's ready to query and always up to date for our users. And then we also offer then other integrations like overall Carto plugs very well with cloud data warehouse test technologies, so same happens for the data. So next. So in summary, what our Data Observatory does is to simplify a lot the discovery phase. So if you check our data catalog, you will see that we provide metadata, consistent metadata across all these 8,000 data sets from the multiple providers and multiple categories, and access to sample data and a preview and so on the same consistent way. And then same happens with the access to the data sets as soon as you want to start working with them. We have also put in place the agreements that are standard, and this allows us to offer a very quick service when it comes to licensing and acquiring premium licenses for these data sets. And this also means that Carto is positioned to become one-stop shop for the technology, but also for the spatial data that you want for your project. And then on top of that, then is when we start to put more complex methods like for enrichment, in which you may have your own data already aggregated with some boundaries. It can be like postal codes, and then you want to append to that table features, variables from third-party data. We have methods to actually do that very easily. Next. And this is where these are most of the data categories that take part of our data observatory. So all of them obviously have a location component that can be based on a point, a line, or a polygon. And within a polygon, we work with standard grid systems like the quad key grids, but also with admin boundaries. So we have data from the financial categories, or more like credit card aggregations, or index-based on aggregated data from credit card transactions from our partnership with MasterCard. Then we have human mobility, so also like food traffic, footfall aggregations in different sort of boundaries provided by telcos like Vodafone, but also companies more on the mobile app world like Monacast and SafeRaf. We also work with TomTom and here for the road traffic data and so on. And as you see here, so also demographics, more behavioral type of data, real estate, point of interest, weather, the boundaries, and also this year we had to create the COVID-19 category to also help organizations, both public and private, to run analysis on the impacts of the pandemic. So finally, so in a nutshell, I think, so it's not one. So we have, so right now in the data observatory, we have data across 11 different categories coming from 35 different sources that, as I said, we have vetted all of them. And this amounts to more than 8,000 spatial data sets. And this number keeps growing week over week. So I actually invite you now, if you want, to go to carto.com/data, and that will give you access to what we call the spatial data catalog, in which you can navigate all these offer and analyze all the details of all these different data sets that we can provide. So, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Javier, for that interesting presentation. So now that we have gained kind of insights from the Data Observatory, Living Atlas, also what was presented by Geodatahub, we think that it's we can probably conclude on this note. So we have 3 key messages really that we want to convey from this session before we open the Q&A. So there's some background noise. Don't know if everyone is on mute. The first message being that geodata marketplaces is really a concept building on developments over the past decades. So virtual marketplaces, digital platforms, and more have really paved the way for new and improved ways of exchanging, providing, and using data. And the case studies that we saw today were really examples of that, right? And the second point is that geodata marketplaces are powered by ecosystems thinking. See that new and innovative models creating interactive and living marketplaces are really made possible by sustainable ecosystems of actors working together. Last key message is also then that geodata marketplaces really encapsulate this ecosystems thinking, and it serves as an enabler for location intelligence. That means that by exchanging data through geodata marketplaces, we can really derive new and deeper geospatial insight. So on that note, I think I will give the floor back to Simon, who will moderate the Q&A session for the last few minutes of our allocated time. So please, Simon.
Yes, thank you, Leia. Thank you, George, and thank you for all the guest speakers, Jill, Javier, and Valdis, for giving us really interesting presentations. I think in the meantime, we had already some questions popping up in the chat box from many of you. So I think Martin asked already 2 questions. Please, Martin, would you like to pose the question by yourself?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay. Thanks a lot for really interesting information, and just I was curious to see in case of, maybe I would start with the last question for all platform presenters. Which type of API is from your experience the most expected or respected, sorry, not required from your customers or users? Could you pick up the most really requested one? And maybe the second question would go for the platform called the Geodatahub. Aside of the how easy is to ensure that the data you are somehow integrating in your platform are kept up to date, and which of the pricing plans you have available on the website is the most used or requested, at least by this moment? Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Martin. So please, Javier and Valdis.
Hey, yeah,
Javier,
maybe I can start, because yeah, for us, for Geodatahub is 3 questions, if I correctly understand. So yeah, actually we followed this with this data providers and regularly contact to them about this data changes, and that's the way how we are checking is any new this raw data accessible. And yeah, because of course we are working only with this trustable sources. It's more and especially from this governmental institution which produce this data in this raw format. And yeah, at the moment we are focusing more on this data which necessary actually for business, and that that's not surprised that the most this required IPAs are simply address validation and this base maps, this really detailed, accurate, updated base maps. That's the reality here in Baltic, because yeah, the business actually now here not flying in a really high clouds. They still need this basic, fundamental, but trustable data. I mean this location and this fundamental of the geospatial data. And yeah, actually if I'm a bit touch this about pricing, it's of course a bit confidential issue, but okay, if I'm honest, of course the most popular is this development plan, which is the we made this plan, and the main idea is that we want that everyone can to test and try how it works. Is it suitable, and is it that what they expected from this IPA, and that this in this development plan is for free. But okay, of course, if we are talking about this real subscribing plans, that yeah, this micro is the most popular still, because yeah, this point amount is quite high, and here in Baltic it's a good enough for many of this our clients. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Valdis. I think there is another question from Geraldine. Correct? Geraldine, please. You were asking about the metadata standards. To which would you like to address this question?
I'd like to address it to Javier, if it is possible.
Okay, thank you. So please, Javier.
Yeah, I'm here. Well, in terms of the metadata standards, I think I would call it that at the end the result has been a proprietary system. I mean, we started based on schema.org, but then and that I think covers most of it, and it's the same. For example, if you have a look at Google's dataset search, so if you want to list the contents of your catalog over there, they follow that same one. So that's for the basic sort of metadata for all the data sets. And then obviously we had to put things of our own that allow us this integration of the catalog and the repository of the data sets and all the processes that handle the subscriptions to our users with the same, consulting the same metadata database. So I would say we started from schema.org and then ended up with something that combines that with some proprietary attributes that we required.
Thank you, Javier. So I suppose we can move to the next question, which was posed by Ula, asking about the features functionalities. Please, Ula, would you like to pose the question, and to whom?
Yes, I would. Thank you so much for the floor, and thank you for very interesting presentations. I think I would like to reach out to Deloitte as starters. Of course, I do appreciate other inputs as well. I was wondering if you're going to start from more or less scratch, having your SDI as a basis, are there like 3 or 5 features or functionalities that you should consider adding to this SDI in order to go towards creating a marketplace?
I think.
George, should I start? Or?
If you had a point there, Leah, sure, go ahead.
All right. So I think that how we see that from our point of view when we're talking about Geodata Marketplace, the important one, of course, key important aspect of the SDI is the partnership that involves it, right? So this links quite nicely with the concept of data ecosystems. In addition to that, of course, there is the aspect of interoperability. There's many different, what we're seeing in research we're doing for other projects for ELISE as well, is that there's new and innovative ways to solve the need for standardization, for interoperability. You have certain ecosystems that have employ their own standards. In the chat here as well, there was a conversation about standards. So I think that we would probably emphasize the need for interoperability and for sustainable data ecosystems. Now, I don't know, George, if you have anything to add.
Yeah, one component that I might add to that is just the basic feature of searchability and findability in order to provide the services that you're looking for. That's the other feature I might mention.
And I'm sorry, I didn't catch your last phrases. I think the connection is a bit unstable. Could you please repeat? Thank you.
Sorry, that was just the feature within the marketplace of searchability and findability of the particular type of data that you are looking for. We would see that as a key aspect of a geodata marketplace as well.
Thank you so much, both of you.
Oh, I think we are slowly running out of time. Are there any other questions from the audience maybe at this moment? So if this is not the case, I would like to thank everybody. And please, Leah, if you could move to the next slide. So I would like to use the opportunity to invite you for the next webinars. So next week, we are continuing with geospatially enabled modeling, simulation, and prediction at the same time, as usual place. And in the beginning of February, we would like to announce the study presentation, Evolution of the Access to Spatial Data for Environmental Purposes. So thank you very much for all presenting, for all attending. And you are, of course, kindly welcome to follow us on the through different channels, which you can see on the last slide. And see you at the next webinar. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.